Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. So excited to be with you today. Start our segment by talking about what it means to be a warrior. If you've never been with us before, I like to give the definition of a warrior because I like people to know they are one when they don't think they are, and that is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. And so what that means is that if you're not a soldier, but you fought through something in your life, and you're not brave, but you're experienced because you've gone through something in life, that you get to consider yourself a warrior. And it's kind of that idea. I think it's John Wayne that says, it's not about being afraid. It's about being afraid and going forward in spite of it, or something to that effect. I probably butchered the quote, but whatever it is that's out in front of you, you just have to take it on like you know you can take it on. And what I tell people is, in my line of work, we deal with a lot of people that struggle through health, wellness, fitness, and they just think they can't overcome whatever it is they're dealing with, health element, or maybe they've done it before and now it's daunting to try to do it again. Or like something we hear a lot is, I've done it before and I know what I need to do, I'm just not doing it. And a lot of times that block actually comes from the fact that it is a little bit harder now. You're older, you've got a different health issue, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden that mountain looks even bigger. And so we just like to let people know, listen, first off, you're not alone. There are other people that have been through or are going through what you are. Iron sharpens iron. So you need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and those are warriors. Those are people that are willing to fight, want to fight, and want to overcome. And don't feel like you have to do anything alone. I mean, when you're looking at something that seems completely overpowering, like who can you go to? Do you have a friend that you can really trust? Do you have a family member you can really trust? Do you have a pastor you can go talk to? Do you need to hire somebody? Like if you're struggling with your health and wellness, maybe you need Debbie and I. If you're struggling with something medical, maybe you got to find a different doctor than the doctor you're talking to if it's not getting done. Don't be afraid to keep looking and keep searching for assistance with whatever it is you're dealing with.
I know for me, all those years ago when I was really sick, this is over 30 years ago, so sick that I thought I was dying. I mean, it was pretty bad. I went through 22 different doctors, and I think I just had kind of lost hope. And so two things happened. One thing, I was watching TV and a pastor came on the television and said, "Have you lost all hope?" And I had no idea if he was a pastor. There was no advertisement for anything. It was just a man standing in the woods, and he said, "Have you lost all hope?" And I just looked at the TV like, yes, because I had. I had genuinely lost all hope. And he's just said, well, there's hope in Jesus. And he basically said, say this prayer if you want salvation. Right. And again, never once did I have any idea who this guy was or where this guy was from, right? And so I went into my bathtub and I said that prayer. I had been sick for at least 2 years at that point, and none of the doctors were finding anything, right? And so at that point, I sort of saw that as a turning point. Well, I had gone through 22 doctors.
Yeah.
Okay? And I ended up getting a voicemail on my phone that it sounds ridiculous, but it was the next day. Okay. Right. I got a voicemail on my phone from Dr. Christian Wesleyan's office. And I had made that appointment 7 months prior.
Right. That's how booked out he was.
Completely forgot about it, because a friend of mine had taken her son who had autism to this doctor, and she said, "Deb, what do you have to lose? He changed my son's life." And so I went ahead and scheduled the appointment. Well, I completely forgot that I had scheduled the appointment because things had declined so much, so rapidly, so fast.
Yep.
And so the appointment was for the next day.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go to this thing. And that was when everything changed. That was when everything turned around. That was when he said, well, what is your blood type? And I had no idea. He's like, you're eating all the wrong foods. And I said, well, I've gone to 2 registered dietitians. There's no way I'm eating all the wrong foods. I eat everything they told me to eat. He's like, well, they are all the wrong foods.
Right.
And I changed my food. And I mean, within days, things started to change.
Right. After 2 years of being sick and
22
basically being
doctors.
told you're going to die. No explanation. It's not a matter of if you're going to die. It's when are you going to die? You
Right.
might have a month. You might have a year. And I love
But
that.
what if I wouldn't have made that
Yeah,
one more
so that's-
call? Or
so
what if
that's
I
the
wouldn't have
thing
went to that
is,
one more doctor?
It's that image, right, that we've all seen the newspaper cut out of the guy just hammering into the rock, and then he's turned around walking away in defeat, and on the other side of that's the Cavern of Gems.
Right.
And so you were so defeated at that point, you could have just told that office, nah, I'm not coming in. It's
Right.
over. But
I
now
can't,
you
I
are
can't
where you
handle
are
one
because
more
of
of these.
that.
I
And
can't
so
handle one more, situation
Yeah.
where, they basically don't know what's going on with
Well,
me and
you
they
have
lead
to-
me down a wrong path.
you have
know?
to persevere. And I've said this before, but perseverance takes you closer to perfection than trying to be perfect ever will. And so, like, if you just keep pressing in, I mean, one more time, Ed Milet says the power of one more. It's the name of his book. Like, if you keep going one more time, you will eventually make it.
Right.
And so if you hit a point where you just give up, I mean, you just said this, I can't take one more doctor. I can't, Pastor Brad said this past Sunday, with the power of the tongue, he's like, he actually said for the first time in his 30 years of marriage, I can't take on another thing. And his wife straight up rebuked him. Pastor Bethany was like, don't say that. You can absolutely, we've been married 30 years and I've never once heard you say you can't take on one more thing. Like, don't proclaim that. You absolutely can take on one more thing. You're strong enough for that. And he was like, okay, you're right. And so it's like, you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with thinking like, I can't take any more. This is it, or this is the end. Like you said, your I don't remember if you said your friend, she said, what do you have to lose?
Right.
I know someone, their dear friend is dealing with cancer, and they're trying to convince them to get off of or get on an antihistaminic diet, get out of inflammatory foods because they're eating really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And, the doctor's basically like, it's not going to help. And then the other friend's like, it's not going to help. You just live your life. You deserve to live while you're in your final moments. And then this friend of mine, he is extremely well versed in nutrition and science and medical nature. And it's actually, he was your client, and that's what started him on this journey of learning all of this. And that's his whole thing. He's like, look, I'm not telling you to not do the chemo. I'm not telling you to not listen to your doctor. Do all of that, but supplement it with this food to help your body to have the immune system to fight so that the treatment is actually received. And he said the same thing, like, what do you have to lose? But when you're in that much pain and you're in that much sorrow, it's easy to be like, I can't fight another fight. Like, I can't find someone to meal prep my food for me. I can't go the clean route. And then you start falling into that actual feeding of the flesh where it's like, but I just feel bad, so I want the pizza. I just feel bad, so I want the ice cream. And it just makes you, it makes your fight so much harder.
Well, another thing Pastor Brad said, which we recorded a video in regards to yesterday, is, just are your circumstances basically taking authority
Oh, that's right.
over your authority
Right.
that you have over those circumstances? Have you allowed the circumstances to become so big in your mind that they have basically taken authority over the ability for you to even
Right.
recognize and realize that you have power and authority over those circumstances? That the name of Jesus, just simply declaring the name of Jesus over any of those circumstances, presses you on to a different level. And it just allows different possibilities when you take power and authority over that. And so, like with the cancer, the desire to eat the bad food that person has authority over that, and
Right.
they can heal to
Right.
some extent with those healing foods.
You just, like you said, you deserve to live. Like you could, okay, let's say that the food, not to be grim, but let's say the food doesn't extend your life. Your quality of life that you have left could be better.
Yes.
Like you could have the mental clarity. You can enjoy your time with your family more. Maybe
Less
you
pain.
could stay awake a little bit longer. Maybe you aren't in as much pain. And it's like, that stuff's not talked about because our world is so reversed on what joy of life is. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, but you
The
deserve to
flesh.
have that hot
It's all
fudge
flesh
sundae.
feeding.
And it's like, okay, but if that's actually making her have to sleep an entire day and then the next day she's like in extreme pain, like, is that really enjoyment for that 5 minutes of
sugar
ice
feeds
cream?
cancer. It's
Right.
it's scientifically proven that sugar feeds cancer.
Right.
So anything that you're doing to continually bring sugar in, you're not taking that cancer away. You're only increasing the chance for it to be worse. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program or a free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from My Personal Bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done talking to you about what it means to be a warrior, and I want to talk a little bit more about talking yourself out of being a warrior. And I think that's so important to think about the fact that you actually have the power to speak things into strength or to speak things into weakness. And there are so many verses about this in the Bible. Like, I didn't actually realize how much the Bible talks about not talking trash, and that's not just against other people, that's against yourself.
Yes.
And like Proverbs 18:21, it says death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Like, okay,
Yep.
well, what are you talking? Are you talking rotten? Are you eating rotten fruit?
That's right.
Or are you talking positive and eating positive fruit?
Right.
And so then, like, another one, Proverbs 12:18, there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Like, are you helping someone with what you're saying, or are you hurting someone? And are you helping you,
Right.
or are you hurting you? You can cut yourself,
Right.
So if you're sitting there telling yourself you can't do something or you can't overcome something, what's that quote? He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
Right.
I mean, what are you convincing yourself right now?
Yes.
Like, I'll never get that promotion. I'll never get that job. What happens is when you say you never will is you don't try to be.
Right.
And so if you don't try to be, then you're absolutely correct. But if you tell yourself you're capable and you just start that persistent cycle of attempting to overcome or attempting to do something, that's actually what gets everybody there.
Right.
Talk to anybody successful. And I'm not just talking about like business or financials. You can talk to those people too, but anybody successful in their health journey, anybody successful at anything. And they're going to tell you that when they started it, they were completely blind in what they were doing. Like, I had help from so-and-so, or I had a coach, or I had this, but I didn't know what I just knew I needed to do it. I just knew I needed to take one step at a time. Nobody that I've ever talked to, maybe they're out there, maybe I'm wrong, but nobody I've ever talked to out there that's extremely successful says, yeah, I went into this with a perfect game plan, flawlessly executed, knew exactly that I was going to be okay. I don't know a single person that says that.
Right.
So you just have to look at these things and say, like, I'm not going to speak weakness. I'm not going to just sit around and talk about how tired I am. I'm not going to sit around and talk about how hard my life is. I'm not going to sit around and talk about how bad I feel. Gina said in the text message, because I was out all last week because I had a foot infection that I didn't realize could become as serious as it did. And thank God we caught it before it got worse. But I was literally floored for a week. But I tried to go into work one of the days because I don't like to miss work. And I remember Gina, she was like, hey, how you doing today? And I was like, I'm doing great. because I didn't want to claim that I was having what I had going on, but I did. And I ended up having to go home. I only made an hour. But when we had to advise all of our staff on why I wasn't there and what was going on, she messaged back and she's like, holy cow, teach me your ways of speaking that positive when you're that sick. And the trick is, it's not a lie. I spoke healing into myself. I don't know how long it would have took me to heal if I laid in bed and thought I'm not going to overcome this. They say this could kill me if it makes its way up my bloodstream into my heart and it's gone from my toe into almost my knee. I'm not going to be able to, how long would I have been sick and laying there? So you just have to tell yourself, I can do this. I can do this.
Absolutely. I think if you are so down, no matter what your circumstances, that you can't muster up the courage to even write it down on paper that you can do it, then you have to find someone that can build you up. You have to find someone that can come in and can lift you up. And there are times in life where you do get that down and you do struggle to be able to do it on your own. And if you're at that point and you've hit rock bottom and you truly just don't believe that there's possibility for change, and you don't believe that you're going to make it, or you're going to come out ahead, or that it's all going to work out for you, you've got to find someone that can come, step in, speak life into you, speak healing into you, speak faith into you. You've got to listen to some sermons. You need to make it to church on Sunday. There's a big difference in showing up and being inside the building than just listening to it. If you can physically get there, because that message is so much stronger, and the presence of the Lord is in that building, and your body will feel a difference when you are in that facility. But every day there needs to be this path that you take in your thinking. And there have been times in my life where I couldn't think it. I was so low that my mind would not allow me to think that the positivity was possible. So I got out. I have so many journals that I've bought through the years, but I got out a notebook and I would write down, I am healed. I am whole. I am strong. I am redeemed. I am blessed and not cursed. I will lend and not borrow. I am respected. I am at peace. I would just write these things out. My stomach is willing to take on nourishing foods. My body is accepting of all foods. My body is healthy and whole. I literally had a series of my life, a very long season of my life, where I would have to write those things down every day, and I would have to actually read those things out loud like an algorithm, like a robot, to be able to change the system that was going on in my brain. And if I didn't read them out loud, it wasn't just reading them. I had to read them out loud. If I didn't do that, I didn't get the shift that I needed in order to be able to be okay.
Another thing is when you journal, journaling's so good. And I'm not talking about, a lot of people think of journaling and they're like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not talking about this morning at 3 a.m. I woke up and I sat on the floor, and at 3:27, it's not like that. It's writing down things that occur in your life, and don't be afraid to write down the positive things that happen. When you do have a success, or you overcome something very hard and you finally beat it, or you actually feel really good, if health's a problem and you have some really good days, journal that, because what you can do then is, just like Debbie's saying, speaking those positive things she wrote down, you can actually backtrack and you can see the things that you have overcome and read that. But here's what's cool. If you're also writing down the negative stuff and you go back and read that and think, oh, I'm not dealing with that anymore, that's super positive, provoking as well. I have a client, she does it with pictures. She's got a health issue going on right now. She's trained with me for years, and it's got her a little heavier and bloated, and she doesn't feel great. But she goes back and she looks at when she started with me, and she looks at her pictures and then remembering why she came, how she felt. And she's like, well, I'm not there anymore. So if I dealt with that, I can deal with this. So it's easy to forget the pains and victories you've had. It's good to have the memories.
Absolutely. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3, talking a lot about just speaking power, speaking positivity today. And it's really on our hearts, and it's interesting because we've been going to church for the past month, and for 4 weeks, our pastor has actually been on a series about it, talking about the power of the tongue. And so it's neat that it's being so driven there because it's helping bolster us on helping the people coming to us in defeat on overcoming, and what's interesting is we've all heard sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words will never hurt me. That is garbage. I've been broken. Sticks and stones have broke my bones, but your words may make me hate you forever. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Like the most pain I've ever had, the people that I've had to forgive in my life, like I've actually had to actively forgive in a church where they're like, whoever you think that you hate or you have unforgiveness in your heart, let it go. And you're like, I don't want to let go, that I'd like to curb stomp somebody, and it's like it's not somebody that's thrown a stick at me. Right. It's not somebody that's hit me. I've been in more fights than I can count, in law enforcement. I had people that wanted to try to take me out. I've been stabbed. Like, I don't hate those people. But people who have tried to wrong me and talk poorly about me and get behind my back, like that's the stuff that sticks. And so what's fascinating about that is if you look at James 3:5-6, it says, so also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire, and the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. So everybody is like, no big deal, whatever. I'm just telling you that I struggle with that. I can't quit smoking. Okay. Well, welcome to setting the forest fire ablaze of not being able to quit smoking.
Because you keep
saying you can't.
Yeah.
You keep saying you can't start. You keep saying it's too hard. That's how fires are started.
Right.
I've worked a house when I was in law enforcement. The entire house, it was a 2-story. If you've ever put a cardboard box in a bonfire and you've watched the flames jump up over the box, that's what this house looked like. It was the biggest bonfire I've ever seen. I mean, it was huge. And you know what started it? Someone had used a fire pit the night before. They had put water on it and put it out. And the little bitty coals, when they drug it back into their garage, were close enough to the side of the insulation in the garage that it caught the garage on fire and it blew out their entire house. Guess what happened after that? The neighbor's house air conditioning turned on and the ventilation from the roof fired on, and it sucked that fire in, and their neighbor's house burnt because of it too. So what I want you to think about is, what poison are you speaking about yourself or others that's getting tainted into those around you?
Yeah.
When you talk about weakness, you talk about sadness, you talk about being tired all the time. Who doesn't tell you, oh, I'm tired too?
Right.
It's contagious. And if you're talking about somebody else, like if you're behind somebody's back talking about somebody, you're spreading that disease as well.
Right.
If you got a problem with someone, go talk to them about it, because your tongue can absolutely ruin relationships. It can ruin people, and it can ruin you.
Yeah, and it could be, cursing their life, and it can be cursing your life because you're so negative. Over the years, we basically meet with people hour to hour. I mean, every hour there's a new person that walks in my door. They sit behind, closed doors, and they tell me things, and they tell me very private things. And so I have to help them turn their thinking around. They tell me they're a sugar addict. They tell me they just can't do this. They mess up all the time. They tell me, they don't think they're strong enough. I have to turn all those things around, right? So I have to give them the tools to start thinking differently and basically oppose everything that they just said. But the other thing that I have to do is when people get behind closed doors and they start to tell me something negative about an employee, or they start to tell me something negative about someone I know, or they start to tell me something negative about a pastor, or something negative about the president, or something negative about, some type or some form of leadership, I have to exit the conversation non-apologetically, but yet respectfully, so that they understand that I am not the person to go to on those topics.
Right.
And you have to set a precedence for that sort of thing, because if you don't, then people are going to keep doing it.
Yes.
They're going to keep bringing the trash
Yes.
to you, and they're going to keep dumping it on you. And I would rather someone think, personally, this is just my personal opinion, I'd rather someone not like me than someone continue to come to me and talk to me about bad things
Right.
about other people.
Right.
Because you know what? I don't even know if I need that person to like me.
Right.
Because if they're willing to talk about all of those other people
They're probably
at the
talking about
level
you,
at
too.
which they are, then I can guarantee they're talking about me. So
Yeah.
I don't need to give them any fuel for their fire to
Right.
talk about me.
Right.
So I'm okay with them not liking me. So I put a stop to it right off the bat, and
Yeah.
I do it respectfully, but I basically just decline the ability to be open to those topics. And what I find, those people just don't me. And I
Yeah.
have a fairly small circle because of it.
You know what's interesting is I know somebody and they go to a therapist, and I asked them at one point, because they were talking about like this thing and how these people were against them, and just like all this stuff, and I said, has your therapist ever one time since you've been going to her told you you're wrong? And she just it was on the phone, she just was quiet, and I was like, one time. Has your therapist ever said, I think you're overlooking that, overreading that, overreacting to that, I don't think that's what's meant? Or have they always agreed with you on everything you've said? Still silence. I already know the answer to the question. And I was like, you better find a different therapist. If somebody isn't willing to either A, shut you down on the negative talk, or B, confront you when it's just negative hearsay and wrong, you're talking to the wrong people, because they're allowing you to poison yourself.
Right.
Because they don't care enough to have any form of conflict with you. But people got to remember, like, conflict isn't inherently bad. Like, what makes conflict bad is when you're not willing to understand another person's viewpoint, and it ultimately results in some form of unnecessary violence. That's not good conflict. But like the friction of being like, that's not really okay.
Right.
Like, that's actually much healthier than pretending like you agree with somebody. It's healthier for your mind. It's healthier for your soul. And then what happens if you don't agree with somebody? You leave and you're like, oh, I should have said something.
And sometimes you have to have the courage to actually speak the truth to someone. And I think that if that's Holy Spirit led, then that truth is maybe it's going to feel like a sword sometimes when it's being heard, but I think it's going to be received. And the seed is going to be planted, and God is going, because you're speaking it in love, right? And you're speaking it in faith.
Yes.
I remember plenty of times in my relationship with John, when he struggled in the beginning with the brain issues, coming off of alcohol, coming off of food, coming off of prescription drugs, and then he had all these brain issues. This was before going to the Amen Clinic, being diagnosed with traumatic brain injury and all the things that we've done to fix it. But prior to that, he would get in a loop in his mind on just failure thinking, just pure failure thinking. And I mean, like, I would have to have the courage to just speak up and come against that, see it for what it is, which is just pure attack on him and basically the enemy's way of trying to keep him from ever becoming what he's really, truly destined to become. But have the courage to just stand firm in front of him and be like, this is nonsense. Stop speaking those lies to yourself. Stop living that way. That's not who you are. You're better than that. And hey, you're going to have to get out of bed, and you're going to have to put one foot in front of the other, and you're going to have to fight for change in your life. And I will tell you, plenty of times, the first few moments of me telling him those things, I was certain that my life was about to end because he was not in a very good place back then. But I had the courage to stand for what I knew God intended for this man. And had I not stood for that, I don't even really know where he'd be today. I had to go to war in the spirit for him, and I had to go to war and be willing to talk him out of that. Now, in the years, since the years have gone on, in down moments where I would second guess myself or second guess, am I doing the right thing? Or maybe enough attack would come on. I mean, John would come in like a roaring lion and just basically set me straight and, align it with the word of God and show me exactly where I should be and how I should be thinking and how it is without a doubt pure lies that I'm telling myself when I'm speaking, just this negativity. And he would come in and he would just build me back up. And, in the beginning, you're almost defensive of it because they're coming completely against what you're thinking.
That's the conflict.
But then you realize they're doing that because they love you and they have the courage to stand against you. And you realize that there's probably no one else in my life other than maybe one other person that would have spoke that truth to me in the manner that he did. And it was exactly the way I needed to hear it. And the way I had spoke it to him was exactly the way he needed to hear it. And God knew that, and the Holy Spirit knew that, and he drove us to do it.
I mean, it's like, you get people that are allergic to things. Like we had a client, she's literally battling like, I think diverticulitis or something like that. I can't remember. And she goes to a party and her friends are like, oh, come on, you're saying you can't have like whatever it was, corn chips or this. And she's like, and they're like, you deserve to get to live a little. And she goes, no, I'm not doing it to lose weight, which, she was losing weight, but she's like, I'm doing it because like I'm actually sick. Like I have a condition. And they're like, but really is that little bit it's like, what are we doing?
Right.
This person's literally got something that is going to potentially result in a very serious surgery or a very serious health situation. I mean, it already was a serious health situation. And so it's like, that's not who you want. You want someone that if you reach for the chip, they're going to say, hey, I'm sorry, but do you really think that you should take that in? Like, aren't you trying to do better because you're battling, diverticulitis? Aren't you trying to do, I don't want to see you fail on that. I mean, Debbie's done that with me in the past. Like, hey, you're sensitive to dairy. Like, do you really think you should have that? Like, is that the smartest thing? And she's never like, don't eat that, It's always my decision, but she's not afraid to step out and just be like, and you know what? Maybe sometimes she is afraid, but she still does it. Steps out like, I don't want to tell you what to do, but John, like the last time you had that food, you were so sick. You did not feel well, but you get yourself feeling well enough or in a position where you just think everything's going to be okay. And so you just, you think, what's it going to matter? Just like the friends are trying to tell you, like, what's the big deal? What does it matter? 1 Peter 3:10 says, for whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Like, do you want your days to be good? Because think about anybody that you've ever heard talk trash about you or even someone else that you care about. And it's like, wow, is that really all you got going for you? You're so unbusy sitting around doing nothing that you get to waste that much time caring about what someone else has going on and being negative about it. Like, do you really want to be that person? Do you really want to be the person that is sitting around? That's your life?
Most of that isn't even truth. That's a lack of confidence on their behalf.
Right.
They're creating a false reality. They literally have the wrong impression of most situations, and they're just creating drama and creating a false reality to somehow make themselves feel better about their circumstance. So don't even take it personal. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done kind of talking to you in the last few segments about just using your words, like using your words to be powerful, using your words to overcome, speaking positivity into people. Don't be negative about yourself. Don't be negative about other people. Like from a business owner perspective, there are things that employees do that can drive you absolutely insane. But then you're like, wow, that's one thing though. Like, look at all the great things they do. Look at all the things they do right. Look at how strong and passionate of a worker they are and how much they have your back. I mean, we do it with our daughter. My daughter is literally a saint, and not like every parent's like, my kid is the greatest. Like, my daughter is literally a saint. Like, she does what she's supposed to do. She learns from what you tell her. And so there's certain things that she'll like slack off on here and there, or something happens and I'll find myself get really like ticked off about it. But before I have the conversation with her, I have to take a step back and be like, if that is the biggest thing you have to worry about with her, you're doing pretty good. Like, you still have to address it. You still have to have the conflict that we were talking about in the last segment, where you may not want to spend your evening talking to your child about what they need to overcome because you're just willing to let that go because you don't want to have the conflict and you'd rather just not deal with it. Can't do that. You still have to have the conversation, but go into the conversation with love, compassion, and attempt at correction, not harsh, hard, pissed off, you did something wrong, because you're acknowledging all of the things they do right. And that's actually how you overcome things, is you have to walk into something and know, like, okay, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to correct this situation, but I'm also going to acknowledge how good someone is at something, because if you go in just poisonous, if you go in just like seething it, I hate everything you do. I've seen it with business owners. I had a guy, actually, he was a major when I worked for O'Fallon, and I had great arrest stats and I had great investigatory and report stats. And he was ticked off because I didn't write enough tickets. I mean, he wouldn't say that, but he kept telling me you need higher productivity. And I'm like, sir, I'm looking at the productivity right here. All of my numbers are in the top 25 percentile except for writing traffic tickets. Like, is that what you want me to do? Well, you can't have a quota, so he can't tell me that. But instead of being like, hey man, all these other numbers are great, but like, it really helped to see this number come up. Instead of that, he told me, on one hand, he's got a hardworking John Morris, and on the other hand, he's got a worthless John Morris. Like, what is that going to accomplish?
Right.
Like, you're trying to poison me with that? Like, you acknowledge the positive stuff I do, and then come at me and say, hey, but I need this to be better. Like, I'm more likely to correct that.
Yep, definitely. I fully agree. I think some people, though, I think they're in such a dark place, or they're so negative themselves. Maybe they eat enough bad food, they drink enough bad drinks, they take enough bad medications,
right,
that they honestly don't even know how to acknowledge the good in people.
Right.
I mean, I think it's just it's a true, sincere block.
And a lot of times they don't even know how to acknowledge the good in them.
Right.
And that's where you talk about the insecurity, is it's like you can be so insecure on something that you're mad at somebody else for having the same problem. And then Ed Milet was talking at one point in the Arate that we're part of, which is like an entrepreneurial assistance group. And he said, when you're good at something, like you're actually good at it, people tell you you're good at it and you're good at it, you can't expect everybody else to do it as well as you do. You just can't, because you're kind of a bar setter on that. And so if you're good at something, you can't look at someone else and be annoyed because they're not keeping up with you on it, because it's not their strong point. It's yours. Right. And so you have to look at people for what their strong points are. Surround yourself with people whose strong points are your weak points, and then work together for success.
Yeah,
but
an example of that would be clients coming in and just complaining about their doctors,
right,
not teaching them about nutrition, not
right,
telling them that they shouldn't be eating this or not. It's like, your doctor wasn't educated in medical school to teach you nutrition.
Right.
If you want nutrition advice, pay for nutrition advice and
Right.
pay for it from someone who went to school and learned nothing but nutrition advice.
Yeah, because that person isn't going to be able to help you with your medication for X, Y, and Z. That
Right.
person isn't going to be able to help you with your checkup for strep throat. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with your doctor and now you're mad because your doctor didn't help you figure out how to change your food. It's not what they do. Look at all of the great things that doctor does for you.
Yes.
So it's like you have to look at people for what they're good for. Now, sometimes someone might not be right for you. Like, okay, don't make it up.
Right.
Don't make up positive traits. If they're not a good employee, get rid of them. If they're not a good doctor, find another one. If they're not a good boyfriend, get a new one. But like, is it one thing that you're hung up on that you're like looping on because it's an annoyance and you need to look at all of these other positivities? And then even if it is a negative situation, you just cut ties from it and you move on. Don't seethe on it. That's something that I used to struggle with that Deb helped me through. Is I'd have these negative things and I would just, like she said earlier, I think it was in the second segment, I would loop and I'd be like, oh, like I wish I could just do this, this, and this. She's like, but you can't. So what's the point of thinking about that? Oh, I wish I could tell them this, but you can't. You're just poisoning yourself. And Pastor Brad said this yesterday. He said, how did he word it? He said, holding resentment towards somebody does nothing to them. It only harms you.
Right.
So when you're holding the resentment because you want them hurting, you want them in pain, you want them to suffer the same way, they don't feel that.
And hurting people try to hurt people. And some of the biggest gossips that I work with that I know, that I can just genuinely see that they say the most hurtful things about other people behind their back, and then yet they're super nice to them, to their face. The sincere backdrop of that is that person that is speaking all of that is hurt. They're damaged. They have trauma. They had someone who left them behind. They had someone who didn't care about them. They've had people that have just been bad to them. And so deep down, even though they might seem like this confident person because they are the know-it-all and they talk about everybody and they know everything, but yet they're super nice to people's faces, they're actually the weakest people in the room, because the strongest person in the room is the one that doesn't say anything back. It's the one that keeps their mouth shut. It's the one that doesn't need to jump in any of that type of conversation, the one that doesn't spend time around people like that, the one that's not afraid to be alone, because they'd rather be alone than be around toxic, poisonous people or toxic, poisonous situations like that. If you're finding yourself surrounded by this and you continue to stay with this, and this is your environment on a regular basis, start figuring out how you need to change. And if it means you being alone for a little while, then you be alone for a little while, because health will sincerely come from that when you start to take out the trash in your life.
Yeah, when I started studying a little bit more about like the power of the tongue and just thinking about like what the Bible says about it, there is a passage that I didn't know existed, and it's Matthew 12:36 through 37. I've never heard this before this. It says, I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned.
Right.
I don't know exactly what that means, but what I do know it means is that every word you say, Bible says, take every thought captive. Every thought that comes to your mind and you put that into action, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to account for that. So when you look at somebody and you hit them with a negativity, and I think we've all done it, right? You've said something, you're like, well, you want to pull it back in your mouth after you said it, or you sent the text, and you wish there was a delete option before the like it's on red and you can press delete like you can on Instagram or something, but it's text message, so you can't do that. It's like, if you've ever sent that message, like, you got to stop every thought and think through, like, is this the right fight, or am I being malicious? The poison for other people is also poison for you. Quit telling yourself you can't. Quit telling other people or lies about other people. Quit gossiping, and just get strong in all of your conversation.
And hold the thoughts captive that you speak about yourself, and make sure that you continue to speak life, speak faith, speak success, speak health into your life every day, and you'll start to see that change. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with a 6-month nutrition program with myself or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you all for listening, and have a great day.